Today is August 6th, and in 1945, the first atomic bomb was dropped on a city only a few hours away from where I sit today. In fact, if I go by bullet train, it's only about an hour and a half away. And in the light of that event and the sort of air that is on the news today, I want to talk to you about the nature of human responsibility. And it will be incredibly different than what most religious accounts have of human responsibility and their relationship with God. And I frankly hope it spurs controversy like the last video did. Talk is good. To that then, I apologize if there's just a sort of somber attitude in my voice. I live in Japan. Today is the day the first atomic bomb was dropped on a city in Japan, and the Japanese are a particularly emotional people. Without that event, they're an emotional people, and so you can imagine just how much they go on about it. I mean, we had 2 buildings destroyed. They had 2 cities destroyed. Puts it into perspective, I guess. Anyway. This discussion begins with a discussion of free will. Maybe you could have anticipated that, but I don't want to talk about man's free will at first. Who's left? God. You see, if God exists, and if God is omnipotent, and if God can do anything, and is really hot, and so I apologize. If God is omnipotent, then God has no predetermined path. Would you agree with that? He's not bound. He's omnipotent. In his freedom, he can not only choose, think of things, but he can create them. He's not bound to a predetermined path like a domino chain. He's the originator of the logic that goes behind domino chains, do you see? But now in that, there comes a necessity to understand the nature of his free will in a very specific and special way. And that is to say that because God does not have a predetermined path, we cannot say that even God knows what he will do until the intention to create arises in his mind. Now what can we then say about the child of God that is endowed with no other divine characteristic other than free will and all the little intricacies that go with it, like awareness, and however complicated that matter is, I don't know. If God necessarily must be ignorant of what he will do in his ultimate, epitomized freedom as being God, what can we say about his children that possess the same trait? Now, you and I can't create worlds and universes, even in 14 days. We can't. So the nature of our trait, our likeness with God, is very importantly different. When you hear people say that we are co-creators with God, they're wrong. We can't create anything. When people say that we can either use our free will to create or destroy, they too are wrong. Do you see? Where God could conceive of a design other than, deviant from, the reality that you and I participate in, and create it successfully, being omnipotent, you and I can only conceive of that in our mind. As such, we are capable of evil. We are capable of evil because we cannot create the alternate world. When we act on the basis of a design that is not of this world, we can only act to degrade this world. I'm talking about drowning your children because a voice in your head told you to do so. That's ignorance. Because she believed that was real, and it wasn't. It wasn't real. In her mind, she conceived of a world that did not exist, and she took action informed by that design. And when an action informed by a design that does not exist occur in the context of the design that does exist, it deviates from the real world and it destroys the real world. That is the nature of apocalypse. You think God just has that power? No. Oh, no. Collectively, you and I, and every other human being on this planet, within the palm of their hand, has clasped a single fragment of apocalypse. We have the power in our hands to bring about the same apocalypse that is necessary to destroy the world. God, of course, has the same power, but I think very rarely do we consider the power that humanity has. In our free will, we have a very genuine responsibility, because the nature of our actions, although we cannot create universes, can either work in accord with this universe or work in deviation with this universe. And those actions can arise from the virtue of our free will, the nature, I should say, of our free will. And if God is ignorant to his action by virtue of his ultimate freedom, what are we to say about the human beings that possess that same trait? We exist with God on the edge of reality itself, on the cusp of freedom. We are agents. We can choose to deviate or celebrate his design, but we cannot alterate anything about what he has made. That is the basis of the possibility of human evil. You see, my theology is not one of consolism or escapism. It is about very frank, very serious responsibility that we can conceive of something other than reality and act on such preconceptions in this reality, and as a result degrade this reality. But I tell you what, just like a father can buy a toy for his child, and the child can either play with the toy respectfully, play with it for all of its worth, and take care of it so that it can exist for many years, or they can strap German knockouts to it, in a very sadistic pleasure, destroy it. Now, we've all probably, especially if you're a boy, or were a boy, done destructive things like that. It might be cute to think of that, but the real ramifications of our responsibility with the important toy being this earth and the collective human bodies that walk upon it, it paints a very different picture. What happened on September 6th, 1945, was the result of human ignorance. It was action informed by a design that did not ever exist. And you too have the capability of making decisions on similar ignorances. Now, you or I don't have the ability to press a button and incinerate an entire city, but we are very capable of entering in and making decisions based upon the same state of mind that made that decision possible. Think about it.